I think this is working. Tina, you want to grab the doors? Yeah. We are, just so everybody knows, we are recording this so that anybody that wants to watch online will have the opportunity to do that as well. So at the end, we are going to have some question and answer time. And for the questions, I'll have to hand you the microphone, or the people that are watching the recording will not be able to hear you. So little housekeeping on this is, first of all, welcome to our education on Prop 415. We are excited to be able to offer this. This is an educational opportunity to learn more about Prop 415. And just as a side note, I, as a staff member, I am prohibited from providing any opinion on this subject. So my presentation will be entirely fact-based. I am not here to encourage you to vote one way or the other on Prop 413. I am here to encourage you to vote, do your citizen duty, and get out and vote. But this is to provide you with information so that you can vote with confidence, whether that's in favor of Prop 415 or against Prop 415. So, and the question and answers will have, I'll ask you to keep them to the facts because I'm unable to provide any opinion on Prop 415. So with that, we do have a presentation for you. So the agenda for our meeting, it looks like this. I'll talk to you about the street network, what it looks like, our current funding sources for street maintenance, repair, and improvement, and then we'll talk about kind of what it costs to repair, maintain, and improve streets. Then I'll talk to you a little bit about the tax rate that's being proposed as part of Prop 415. And then I'm not going to read it to you, but I want to show you, we thought it would be important for everybody to see what the language on the ballot actually will look like. All of you that have voted have seen this kind of language, and it certainly won't come as a surprise to you, but we'll talk just briefly about that. And then finally, just like I said, we'll have a quick Q&A. So with that, our current street network is made up of just under 460 lane miles. So if you took those lane miles and put them all together, you basically can drive all the way to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And that is a lot of lane miles that we have inside the city limits. And of those streets, there are 4 kinds of streets that we deal with here in Kingman. We have residential streets. Those are the streets where most of the houses are located. And then the big roads, the expensive roads to take care of, are these ones that don't make up a high percentage, but they do cost a lot. And those are our collector streets, our minor arterial streets, and of course our arterial streets. Those are the streets that see way more traffic, bigger trucks. Those 3 categories are where most of our commercial activity happens, both industrial and commercial, I guess I should say. So that's what it looks like. We currently have funding and have been taking care of only the collectors, the minor arterial roads, and the arterials because they're so expensive. So residential streets have not been cared for a long time in this community. So our current street condition, this pie chart shows you kind of what our streets look like as far as how they're rated. We hire a third-party company that has very fancy equipment. They have this equipment has radar and LiDAR, and it comes in and they drive every street in the city, and they do calculation. This computer does a calculation and tells us how good our roads are. And so the latest one that we had showed that 45% of our streets were in good or fair condition, and 55% of our streets were in poor or very poor condition. So, of course, this is what we're looking to address with Prop 415 if it passes. We also, over the last few years, have asked citizens if they had the opportunity, what would they consider to be a need? And they've, since 2018, have been telling us that we need to address pavement preservation, that maintenance and repair. And really, residents see this a lot because it's in front of their home. And so it's one of those things where when you see it all the time, it's front and center on your mind. So our street network, really in taking care of it, we thought that it was really important that the community understand the cost. So this is broken down into 4 categories. The first one is basically the preservation of maintenance, you got a new road, what do you do with it? And there is a requirement to take care of those roads, even when they're fairly new. That makes them last longer. And so preventative maintenance is quite cost effective, 80 cents to $1.50 a square yard. Then when you have to get into surface treatment, it goes up a little bit more. Rehabilitation is even more than that. And then reconstruction, that is, you have to go in and just rebuild the road. And reconstruction, $30 to $100. That's something that we need to try to avoid if we can. And a big portion of, when I showed you the graph before that had very poor or poor roads, we're looking at rehabilitation and reconstruction. And so in the future, we're hoping that we can get our roads so that we're dealing with the 2 top categories instead of the 2 bottom categories. So our current street funding for our roads right now come from these 3 categories. We receive money from the state. It's known as the highway user revenue. You also will hear of it referred to as HERF funds. And that's money that is distributed to all the cities by the state through the federal gas tax collection. And then we have, in 2012, the city council passed, and they increased bar and restaurant sales tax by 1%, and that 1% has been collected since 2012 and has been dedicated to the streets ever since. And this year, that will equate to approximately $1.2 million towards our streets. And then this year and for the next 7 years, basically through fiscal year 29, we are dedicating $5.5 million from the general fund to help build the roads back up. And so that is our current funding source for roads. What's interesting to note here is that all of this funding will take care of our arterial and collectors, but it does not address residential streets. And so residential streets, a big part of Prop 415 is that our residential streets will be able to be worked on if it passes. So we have currently a 10-year plan. This has been presented to the city council, and the 10-year plan takes that earlier graph that had 45% good and 55% bad, and it changes it to 85% good and 15% fair or poor. And after that 10-year period, we hope to be able to continue to make repairs and fixes to those very poor and fair roads so that a large majority, if not all of our streets, are in that good category. But for the first 10 years, this is where the money will get us. And so if Prop 415 passes, it will generate, along with the money that's already being dedicated through the revenues I just talked about, we will generate just over $100 million. And with that, like I said, the graph you're looking at, we'd take our streets to 85% of them would be rated as good. So the current kind of how that looks compared to our current funding is that our current funding, we know that this 10-year program needs about $100 million. Our current funding for that 10-year period would be just over $55 million, which leaves us short just under $45 million. And that's where when we made this presentation to the City Council had decided that $45 million, getting the streets to that good category, was important to them. And so that $45 million is what we're looking for this tax increase. So one of the questions is, what streets will you be able to tackle with Prop 415? And the answer is all the ones we've been talking about. The ones that we'll not be able to do, or we're not planning on doing, are the dirt residential streets. Now, residential streets that are currently gravel or dirt, residents do have an option that live on those kind of streets to get involved in what is known as a special improvement district, and they have the ability over a 10-year period to have their road be paved and pay for that over a 10-year period. So if anybody was wondering about dirt roads, this program does not cover our dirt and gravel roads. But it does take care of all of our paved residential, which currently are not being taken care of. So what is our current property tax? What's our current sales tax look like? So our current sales tax is 2.5% on all general goods that qualify for sales tax. We also have a 4% increase over that for hotel stay, and that's 2% goes to our tourism services, and 2% goes to capital projects. And then we also, as I mentioned earlier, we have a 1% increase on the restaurant and bar sales, and that goes towards street repair and maintenance. The city does not collect a sales tax on food, and we do not have a property tax, and we have not had a property tax in this community since 1980. People are confused by that because anybody that has property in the city gets a tax bill from Mojave County. But we, as residents of Mojave County, and we have a school district, we're taxed for those, but the city collects no property tax. So if what's being proposed is passed, our tax rate, the new tax rate will be 3.06, or basically an increase of 0.56%. This also has a big ticket item attached to it, which I will talk about in the next slide. It will not change the I apologize, the 4% on hotel tax, and the 1% on bar and restaurant stays 1%. It still does not add a tax to food either. So, big ticket. One of the things that the City Council was concerned about is how a sales tax increase would affect large ticket purchases. And wanting to be competitive in our region, the big ticket item was part of the motion that the council passed forward and is part of Prop 413. Basically, anything up to $10,000 that you purchase will be taxed at the new rate of 3.06%. Anything over 10,000, so that product that's 10,001 cent, then reverts back to the original sales tax rate of 2.5%. So in the example here, you buy a new SUV, excuse me, the increase with the tax increase, your tax on that will go up by $56. So we thought that was important for everybody to understand. So that big ticket item, doesn't matter if it's a vehicle, a TV, if it qualifies as a sales taxable item, anything over $10,000 will revert back to 2.5%. All right. So some of the questions that have come up that we wanted to make sure we covered. Does this have a sunset? It is not. It is a permanent increase. Prop 415, if it's passed, is a permanent increase to our sales tax rate. Who pays it? So anybody who buys a qualifying product inside the city limits will pay the sales tax. We have a study that was done by ASU. They looked at visits to our Walmart and several other businesses. It was just easier to talk about Walmart. From 2017 to 2019, they looked at the data and they found that 43.34% of the people visiting our Walmart were from 250 miles away or farther, which is pretty amazing, and it goes to speaking to the importance of our tourism economy and the fact that we have a lot of people using I-40 and US 93 that stop in our community. So just wanted to share that part of that study with you. When will you vote? Obviously, this is set for the general election, November 8th, or if you're an early voter, when your ballot comes, you will see Prop 415 on your ballot. Of course, if you don't live inside the city limits, you won't see it. This is only for city residents. We've made this presentation a number of times, and we have had people in the audience that have lived in the county that won't be voting on this. But anyway, that's some of the questions. Your official ballot language looks like this. It will come as no surprise. A yes vote basically says that you are voting to increase the sales tax from 2.5% to 3.06%, and a no vote keeps the sales tax at 2.5%. And I believe that's our presentation. The one thing I will say is I gave everybody that wanted one, I gave them a booklet. A lot of this information is in there. We also, on the back, is a QR code that will take you. We have a dedicated web page to Prop 415. There are additional presentations. The finance director, Tina Moline, who's here, provided financial information to the city council when they were making this decision. You can watch her presentation. Jack Plonty is my assistant public works director who oversees roads. He gave a really extensive road presentation and maintenance and what it costs to do all this. That's on that web page as well. I would encourage you to take a look at those. And so pretty much all of this information I've gone over can be found either in the book or on the web page as well. So with that, I will take any questions, fact-based, that anybody has, if there are any. And there's a lot of information. So yes.
Good afternoon. My name is River Lewandowski. My question is, who currently does the road construction or maintenance? Is it the city itself, or do we have a third party?
Great question. So we actually we do some road maintenance, and on bigger projects it's contracted out. One of the things that we did as part of this process was we did a pretty extensive evaluation of what road maintenance costs and what could we do in-house versus what do we need to do with contract help. And if this goes into effect, one of the things that we will be doing is we will be doing slurry seal in-house. We're going to buy the equipment and have the personnel, and we will be doing that. One of the reasons why that worked well for us is because we can do slurry, once our roads are in good condition, slurry is one of the things that you want to continue to do over time to maintain roads well past the 10-year mark. So great question. Yep.
You hit on it a little bit. If the sales tax proposal does go into effect and there's within the budget would this bring an increase to job opportunities for citizens of Kingman that wanted to work for the city?
The answer to that is yes, we will. As I just explained, if we bring some of the slurry maintenance, the road maintenance, and we start slurrying roads, we're probably looking for 3 to 4 new positions as part of that. So, yep, good question. Other questions? Sir.
Kevin Sarkeesian, Kingman. If you wouldn't mind, could you go back to your presentation where you there's some verbiage about HERF? I was just curious about the verbiage in the paragraph about the HERF. It says the majority. Is that 51% or what is that?
That's a great question. Miss Tina, the reason why she's standing here.
So the majority, meaning closer to 90 to 95% of the monies are actually used to operate the streets department and are not dedicated to the street repairs, maintenance, and improvements. Hence, the $1.2 million that is dedicated through the additional restaurant and bar sales tax. Of course. Yes.
Yes, the other question I have is about the $5.5 million. It says that will be coming out of the general fund. If there's a shortfall in the general fund, what is that? Is that a firm number or is that variable?
So I have to keep this fact-based, and so whenever we put together our budget, we never look at it through a vacuum. We always do some sort of economic forecast. And so this number is based on the economic forecast that we have in place. With any economic forecast, as the future moves on, things can definitely change. But what we have in place right now, we are able to fund $5.5 million through fiscal year 29. Sorry, I keep forgetting.
Oh, can't get up. I got a sore hip. This is a little bit, I'm going to go to the year end, June 30th, 2021. Your end of statement for the city of Kingman, because I've done this kind of work for the last 45 years. And I saw that they had a fund that was called discretionary fund, and I believe it was $30.3 million. And to me, a discretionary fund is a surplus for the city. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. So I look at that, and then I look back at the condition of the roads during that time. None of that $30.3 million could have been used to maintain the roads.
So I can answer a part of that. So discretionary, I'm not sure we don't have anything called a discretionary fund, but I think what you're referring to is our fund balance, potentially, the excess in our fund balance. And right now we have a fund balance policy in place that's been set by council to maintain anywhere between 25 and 50% of our basically our general fund's operating expenditures, and that's what we do every year. So that excess is between the 25 and 50% as we move into our budget process.
My question is still, could none of those funds ever be used, in addition to the roads here are not good at all. And I'm just saying, none of that money could have been used to maintain the roads better here in England, and you want to get more money from us to pay for the roads? I'm trying to understand.
Do you want to?
So we're bordering on opinion. So I'm gonna step back and just say that a dedication of the 5.5 million from the general fund for the next 7 years addresses that question somewhat, and ultimately how the money is spent belongs to the council, city council, right? But one of the things that I will say with regards to our retained earnings or our fund balance is in the general fund is that the commitment to the city is that if we had, because we only have really sales tax as a revenue source and state shared revenue, if there was a major downturn in the economy, that surplus that you're referring to is how we would actually run the city for a number of months if, in fact, there was a major downturn. Like you take what happened in 2008, the Great Recession, and so the fund balance policy of the city has been to maintain a balance of 25 to 50%, and that fund balance is designed to basically cover any economic tragedy, emergency that the city would experience. So, yes.
Yeah, I have a question, and I can speak loudly if you want.
They won't hear you.
Okay. I followed this thing, and I got this summary here that Tina made from the finance thing, and it's called a... Okay, I will. How's that? Is that better? Yeah, I'm just looking at this thing from fiscal year 21, which ended in June of 21. It says 30.3 million is available for spending at city's discretion. Okay, that's fine. I don't know what the numbers are for this year, which ended in June. I tried to find out that number. I don't know what it is, but discretionary, usually this kind of a fund in most cities that I've been associated with is nowhere close to this percentage, like a rainy day fund. This is really doom and gloom, you know. I mean, normally it's around 6 to 11%, somewhere in there is what they carry. And I'm saying it's taxpayer money, it's sitting there. And if it can be used effectively to fix some things or to support infrastructure, I don't see why we wouldn't go in and do that. There's going to be lag time in collecting these funds and spreading that out over the long haul. You're not going to have this money overnight. It's going to take time, you know, for you to collect this money and to basically put it into good use. So, you know, I don't know why as a stopgap we can't get started, take some of that money that we have sitting in reserve or discretionary, whatever you want to call that fund, and start using that to start affecting the repairs on the roads. I mean, you know, I'm being overly simplistic, and I apologize.
No, valid questions, absolutely valid questions. Again, we're not here, we're not allowed to debate this. We're just answering questions, right? And that's what the taxpayers have to figure out. And I will tell you that traditionally, a community will carry, they don't deal in percentages as much as they deal in how long can they run the city if no money comes into the city coffers. How long can you run the city? And that generally is 3 to 6 months is the reserve that you carry. So that's kind of the general rule. So. Oh, yes, sir.
Yes, George Cook, Kingman, Arizona. I never hear anything about the impact fee or the internet sales tax. Where does that go?
So impact fees, we refer to them as development fees. Development fees have to be spent on growth specific capital projects for road expansion, larger piping, that kind of thing. The internet tax, sales tax, is basically our sales tax. It's part of the calculation on the overall sales tax.
My name is Doug Bach, and I'm a recent resident, just moved here about 6 months ago. And my question is, does any of your funding, is it related to the funding that the county gets for funding roads, which will help the city of Kingman?
So the county is an independent government agency, and we receive no money from the county, and they receive no money from us. So, yeah, they are a separate subdivision of the state. Good question. And welcome to the community. Mr. Ward.
Yeah, Ron, the only point that I didn't see you make in the thing is that this tax, if it's passed, cannot be used on anything but roads. It does not ever go in a general fund.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that reminder. So when the council approved this, one thing that they wanted to make sure was that there was a base revenue source moving forward for as long as this tax was in place, that the streets would have this funding source. It would be dedicated to street maintenance and repair and improvement. And so thank you for that. That's a good point. And the city has successfully done that with the 1% restaurant tax since 2012. And there's no plans on ever changing that as well. So, yeah. Sir.
Okay, one more. This is for you, Tina. On these discretionary funds, who has the authority to use these funds?
It's part of the adopted budget process, and the city council ultimately makes the decision on how those monies get utilized. The city council solely rests with them.
All right. Oh,
Kathy Bowman, say this new sales tax, is any of it going for the Kingman Crossing, since the cost to build a Kingman Crossing is going to keeps going up and up and up?
no, there's no plans to use it that way. Funding is already in place for that. No. Yeah, yes, Mayor. Everybody's got a question.
Yeah, we all have questions. Actually, it's a comment about highway user funds. If I remember right, highway user funds are not always there. Didn't back in 2010, an economic slowdown, the state actually stopped distributing those to the cities and swept them. And so we had no highway user funds. And that's an important fact to remember about revenues for maintaining our roads. We lost that money during those times. What, till about 2015, 14? Tina?
So we didn't completely lose those monies. The amount of money just got reduced significantly. Yeah, I just want to make that clear. But yes, until 2018 or 2019, they weren't fully restored. Yep.
All right, excellent questions. I really appreciate it. And again, thank you for coming. This is an important thing. We want everybody to have the information to make an educated vote, one way or the other. And really appreciate your time. Again, great questions. And one more. Okay, wow. I feel like an auctioneer. Going.
Because I came from a large city to move here, Las Vegas, Nevada, after 28 years, I see that the council and the county possibly working together to do improvements in our roads in the county and in the city. I wish there was some way that funding could be obtain some other source through the state or whatever, that it would work together, and that people, which I think are doing right now, are agreeing that, hey, this is a priority for us, and this is what we need to do. It makes the city better, it makes the city more appealing to people to move here, and then improve your tax base as well.
Yeah, and I just will put we do work well with the county, and we do share services when we can, when it makes sense. They don't want to share their money, and we don't want to share ours. That's, we get funny that way. So anyway, thank you all for coming. We really appreciate your time and your desire to know more and want to be educated. And please visit the web page. I think it's got some in-depth information that's really helpful as well. So thank you.